Hey, wide awake family. If you see this, it's your sign to smash that like button. Yes, you listening right now. That way YouTube shows you more amazing stories like this one. We love you all. Now enjoy the stories. I've sold loads of stuff on Facebook Marketplace before. Easy money. Meet in a public place. Hand over the thing. Done. So when I listed my old wireless speaker for $25, I didn't think anything bad could come from it. I just wanted to clear space in my room. A guy messaged me almost instantly. Name was Aaron. No profile picture. Just a gray silhouette. His messages were short. He asked if I could meet him in the parking lot behind the supermarket near my area, the spot everyone uses for marketplace deals. He said he could be there in 20 minutes. Sure, why not? When I arrived, the car park was near empty. Just a few cars scattered around. Streetlights flickering like they were tired. I pulled up and messaged him saying I was here. He replied, "I see you." I looked around but didn't see anyone walking toward me. Then I noticed someone at the far end of the lot. Leaning against a lamppost, he started walking toward me. At first I thought my eyes were just messing with me because it was dark, but the closer he got the more my brain started freaking out. He had my build, my height, same haircut, same beard shape, even the same exact jacket, the one I was wearing right now, like he had gone through my clothes drawer and picked it out this morning. He stopped 5 feet in front of me and smiled just a tiny bit. His eyes didn't match the smile. It looked way too calm for how weird this situation was. He tilted his head and said, "I've been looking everywhere for you." My throat dried instantly. I managed to ask what he meant, but my voice sounded tiny. He didn't answer. He just stared at me with this fascinated expression, like he was seeing something he thought he'd never find. He asked if I had the speaker. I lifted the bag up like some kind of peace offering. He didn't take it. Instead, he stepped closer, close enough that I could see he even had the same tiny scar above the left eyebrow that I got from falling off a bike when I was a kid. I stepped back because my chest was tightening like it wanted to explode. He stepped forward to match me. Perfect timing, like he knew exactly where I'd move. I asked if we'd met before. He said no and yes at the same time, like he whispered no but nodded yes. It made no sense and made everything scarier. He kept staring at my face like scanning it. Then he said, "Nice to see the original in person." Original. That word hit my brain like a hammer. I asked what he meant, and he smiled again, wider this time. That's when I noticed even his teeth were the same. Slight chip in the front tooth I got from biting a stone in a sandwich once. He finally reached out and gently took the speaker bag from my hand. Then he leaned in so close I could feel his breath on my cheek and whispered, "Do you think anyone would notice if we swapped?" My whole body seizing up is the only way to describe it. My brain just flipped into panic mode. I told him to back up. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. He said calm down, but he didn't move away. Instead, he reached into his pocket like he was about to show me something. I didn't wait to find out what. I sprinted to my car, jumped inside, and locked it. His hand slapped the window just as I shut the door. His exact same hand. Same little mole near the thumb. Same everything. He stood there staring straight through the glass, breathing like he wasn't even tired from the rush. He raised the speaker back slowly, holding it like a trophy. Then he tapped the window once and said something I barely heard through the glass. "You sleep on the right side of your bed." I started the engine with shaking hands. He didn't even step back. Just stood there smiling like he knew I wasn't going to run him over. But I reversed away so fast my tires screeched. He didn't chase me. He didn't wave. He just watched. When I finally reached my flat, I sat in the car for ages trying to calm down. I kept looking in the mirror scared I'd see me walking behind the car. I ran inside and checked every lock twice. I stayed up on the sofa with the TV on quiet, waiting for something to happen. My phone buzzed around midnight. A marketplace message. "Thanks for the speaker." Another message. "I'll bring yours soon." Then a photo. A picture taken from the foot of my bed. My bedroom. Me sleeping on the right side. I stared at the photo frozen, trying not to freak out. Then another message came. "We match even better when you're still." I blocked him instantly. Deleted the app. Turned off my phone. Didn't care. I just wanted that nightmare to disappear. But the next day my doorbell rang. I froze, listening. It rang again. Long. Slow. Like whoever was outside wasn't in a rush. I looked through the gap under the door. 2 feet standing perfectly still. My shoes? The same exact ones. Same size. Same creases near the toes from walking. A folded piece of paper slid under the door. I stared at it forever before picking it up. Inside, in handwriting identical to mine, "We can share the same life, or you can give it up." I dropped it and ran to the window. I looked out at the car park behind my building. He was there, leaning against a lamppost, wearing my clothes, my jacket, my shoes, his head tilted slightly, staring right up at my window. He smiled and mouthed something slowly. "Found you." I closed the curtains and stepped away, shaking so bad I almost fell. My reflection in the black TV screen looked like it didn't belong to me. Like I was a copy now, and someone else was the real one. My reality feels like it's ripping. If he tries again tonight, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do you run from yourself? I have this bad habit of buying random old stuff when I'm bored. I scroll Facebook Marketplace like it's a game, seeing what weird junk people are getting rid of. One night I found this wooden chest listed for $20. It looked kind of gothic, dark wood with metal corners and a big old lock on the front. The seller wrote that the key was inside because he lost the spare. That didn't even make sense, but I didn't think too deep into it. I just thought it would look cool at the end of my bed where I could throw blankets in. The seller's name was Michael. His profile picture was blurry, just a silhouette in front of sunlight. He replied fast and asked if I lived alone. I pretended I didn't see that part and just asked when I could come pick it up. He sent me his address and said he'd meet me outside. I drove to the house, and it looked normal. Suburban, quiet. He was already waiting on the driveway with the chest next to him like he couldn't wait to get rid of it. He barely spoke, just nodded toward the chest and said take care of it. His voice sounded like he hadn't used it in a long time. I handed him the cash and he didn't say bye. He walked straight back into the house and shut the door quickly. Driving home, the chest slid in the back seat a little with every turn. It made these dull thuds like something inside was shifting. I kept telling myself it was just heavy wood moving around. When I got home and dragged it into my room, it was heavier than it looked. Like there was more than wood inside. The lock was old, but the keyhole looked scratched up like someone tried to pick it before. I put it under the window and decided to open it the next day when I wasn't tired. At 3 a.m., a loud knock echoed from inside the chest. Not from outside my room, not the door, from inside the chest. I sat straight up, heart punching my ribs. I stared at the dark shape under the window. Another knock. Quieter, like someone testing if I heard. I squeezed my eyes shut and pretended I imagined it. Eventually, I forced myself back to sleep, but it wasn't easy. My brain kept replaying that sound. Next morning, I convinced myself it was just the wood settling. I grabbed a butter knife from the kitchen and tried to wedge the lock open. It finally gave and popped loose. I lifted the lid slowly, expecting old books or blankets or something heavy. Instead, there were stacks of papers. At first glance, they looked like old flyers, black and white, bold letters at the top saying missing. I picked one up and my stomach dropped. It was my photo. Not a random picture either. One I took a month ago with my hair in a low ponytail and my red hoodie. The background was my living room wall, the exact picture I used on my Facebook account for like 2 weeks. Under the photo, my full name, my street, my age, last seen, date blank. I dropped the paper and grabbed another. Same picture. Another. Same picture, but the words were updated. It said last seen yesterday. Another said today. Another had tomorrow's date printed. I started shaking so hard the papers slipped from my hands like snow falling. There were hundreds of them, all the same. All with my face. Someone made fake missing posters for me. I slammed the lid shut and backed away until I hit the wall. Nausea hit me so hard I almost threw up. I grabbed my phone and checked Marketplace messages. His account was gone. Deleted. As if he never existed. I didn't know what to do. Call the police. Tell them someone sold me a creepy chest full of missing flyers of me. They'd think I pranked myself. So I shoved the chest into my closet and piled clothes in front of it to hide it from my own eyes. Then I spent the whole day checking my locks like a paranoid person. That night, Trying to sleep felt impossible. I kept seeing my own face on those posters. At around midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Do you live at the chest? I blocked it immediately. Then another text came from a different number. Have you looked inside properly? Another. Check the bottom layer. I threw my phone onto the bed like it was toxic. I stared at the closet door. The chest was silent this time, but sometimes silence is worse. I debated leaving the flat and never coming back, but curiosity is my worst enemy. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly opened the closet. I moved the clothes aside and lifted the lid again. I forced myself to take out all the flyers, stack after stack until I reached the bottom. There was another item down there. A phone. Hold, cracked screen. It buzzed in my hand the second I touched it. A notification popped up. New video message. I almost dropped the phone again, but I hit play before I could think. It was footage of me. Sleeping. Recorded from inside my bedroom. The angle showed the end of my bed. The chest was right there in the frame. The timestamp said 3:14 a.m. Last night. I could see myself turn in my sleep, and the chest lid moved slightly, like someone was inside lifting it just enough to peek out. I screamed and covered the screen with my hand. My whole body went cold. I didn't even want to check if the chest lid moved now. I ran to my front door and opened it ready to sprint away. My heart stopped. A missing person flyer was taped to my door. My face again. Last seen. Today. The photo was different this time. It was taken right then, right as I opened the door. The hallway behind me and everything. My mouth still open mid-breath. I staggered back inside and locked the door 3 times. Tears blurred my vision. My phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did. It was a new Marketplace message request. From an account with no picture. The message said, "You haven't been reported missing yet, but we can fix that." Another message came right after. "Check outside the chest." I heard it then. Fingers scratching the wood from the inside. Slow. Drag. Pause. Drag. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. If I call police, will they believe any of this? If I leave the chest here, will something get out? If I try throwing it away, will whoever did this just send another? I'm writing this while sitting on the bedroom floor shaking. I keep staring at the closet waiting for the door to move. One more text just came in. Smile, we're taking another photo. Selling my TV on Facebook Marketplace was supposed to be simple. I upgraded to a bigger one for gaming and just wanted to get rid of the old one. $120. First person who messaged me was a guy named Ben. No profile picture, just a completely blank circle. His bio said nothing except the word local. I thought nothing of it because loads of Marketplace users look empty like that. He asked if he could pick the TV up that night. I said sure and gave him my building number and the floor. I didn't give my flat number because I normally meet buyers outside in the lobby. But he replied saying he'd come straight up because he didn't want to carry the TV downstairs alone. He said he'd bring a trolley. Before I could say no, he said, "I'm outside your door now." My chest tightened. I hadn't even given him the flat number. I walked carefully to the door and opened it just enough to see through. He stood there with that calm look people get when they already know too much. This small smile, straight posture. He walked in without waiting for me to invite him, like he had been here before. He looked around and said, "You moved the sofa since last week." My stomach dropped. He said it casually, like commenting on the weather. I asked what he meant and he ignored me completely. He stared straight at the TV like he already owned it and then nodded, saying, "Bedroom is down the hall on the right. Bathroom to the left. The cupboard with cleaning stuff is 2 doors down. Replace the fuse in your balcony light. It's going to go soon." The way he listed things off, it wasn't a guess. It was exact. He even mentioned my stupid balcony light that flickers. I asked how he knew any of that. He said, "I like to understand spaces before I enter them." I didn't know if that was some creepy quote or something. He walked into my kitchen without asking, opened my cupboards, and said I had a lot of pasta for someone who doesn't eat it much. I stepped away because he was way too comfortable, way too familiar. Then he walked toward the living room window and waved his hand like he was pointing out neighbors. He said, The woman above you never sleeps before 4 a.m. The guy opposite has a new girlfriend, and the kid 2 floors down hides candy under his bed. My blood ran cold. I asked how he knew my neighbors. He smiled and said their names. Every single one of them. First and last. I told him to get out. I didn't care about the TV anymore. I said he could leave the money on the table and go. He slowly turned to me. That calm expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes shifted. He said, "I should make sure your room is comfortable first." I said no and stepped closer to the front door, ready to run out screaming if needed. He shrugged like it wasn't worth a fight and placed the cash down. He picked up the TV carefully, like he knew exactly how much pressure it could take without damaging the screen. He strapped it on his trolley. As he left, he looked over his shoulder and said, "Lock your windows tonight." I asked why. He said, "Because the neighbor's brother likes to check on you when you're asleep." I slammed the door and deadbolted it. I pressed my back to the door, breathing heavy. Every part of my brain told me to call the police. But what would I say? If I knew too much about my flat, my neighbors, my food, they just tell me to block him. So I did. I blocked him. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the building made me sit upright. I kept checking my phone. His profile had vanished like it never existed. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow ones. Heavy. They paused outside my door. Someone brushed the door like sliding a hand over it. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then the footsteps continued to the stairwell. Next morning, a knock on my door. When I opened it, nobody was there. But on the ground was the $120 he gave me, and under the cash was a folded piece of paper. My hands shook opening it. Inside was a printed blueprint of my flat, my exact layout, furniture included, labels with neat handwriting describing every drawer, every cabinet, every lock. And beneath all that, check the bedroom closet. I didn't want to, but I had to know. I slowly walked into my room. The closet door was closed. I hadn't closed it. I stepped closer and heard it. Breathing. Inside. I ran. Didn't grab a single thing. Just bolted straight out of the building, down the stairs, into my car, and drove without thinking. I parked miles away at a petrol station, trying not to cry. I called a friend and asked if I could stay at hers for a bit. I didn't tell her why. She asked if I wanted to go back later for my stuff. I said no. I would rather set the entire building on fire. A few days passed. I tried to convince myself I imagined the breathing. Stress makes your head do weird things, right? Then I got a marketplace notification. A new listing from a blank profile. Flat-sized cage. Good for someone who lives alone. Price negotiable. The image was a photograph. My living room. Except the sofa was gone. The TV was gone. Everything was gone. Except the closet door. Wide open. And a figure standing inside. Wearing my clothes. Head tilted. Watching the camera. Watching me. The caption updated while I stared at it. Buyer already chosen. I only bought the painting because my wall looked empty and I wanted my flat to feel a bit more grown up. It was this old vintage portrait of a woman. Dark background, soft brush strokes, kind of creepy, but in a cool, old-fashioned way. It looked like something from a charity shop horror movie. The seller on Facebook Marketplace said it was $15 if I came to collect it. Cheap art, why not? The seller was this old guy with shaky hands who kept glancing behind me like someone was there. He said the painting had been waiting for a new home, which sounded dramatic, but whatever. He asked if I was gonna hang it somewhere personal, like a bedroom or hallway. I told him in my living room. He nodded like he approved. He wrapped it in a dusty sheet and told me to be mindful of her. I thought he meant like don't drop it. I laughed and said bye, but he didn't laugh back. As I walked away, he just stared at me, his eyes all wide and weird. When I got home and unwrapped it, I noticed the woman in the painting looked kind of like she was side-eyeing me. Her hair was tied in a loose bunch at the back of her head. She wore a plain cream dress. Simple and boring. I hung it up near the TV and didn't think much more about it. Next morning before work, I walked past the painting and froze. Her hair wasn't tied back anymore. It was loose and wavy, exactly how I had styled mine that day. I actually reached out to touch the canvas thinking maybe I imagined it. My heart was racing because I read the listing photos before buying. She definitely had her hair tied back originally. I shrugged it off like maybe I mixed it up or remembered wrong. I left for work. Later that night, I noticed something else. The woman in the painting was wearing a black top that looked just like the one I had on. Same neckline, same little crease pattern near the shoulder. There's no way I was remembering wrong now. I just stood there staring. Her eyes looked slightly different too, more focused, like she was staring at what I was wearing and copying it. I took the painting down and put it face down against the wall. Then I distracted myself with food and my phone until I felt brave enough to sleep. Next day, I woke up to a loud clatter. I ran into the living room half asleep. The painting was back on the wall, hanging perfectly, like it had never been moved at all. Now the woman had her hair in a messy bun. Same messy bun I quickly did before bed. She wore the exact same oversized hoodie I was wearing right then. Same color. Same sleeves rolled up clumsily at the ends like mine. I felt the air go cold around me. I whispered to myself saying stop staring, but I couldn't look away. I covered the painting with a giant towel. I taped the towel down because I didn't trust that sheet to stay put on its own. I sat on the sofa all day watching stupid shows to keep my brain from thinking too much. Around 3 a.m., I heard a soft tapping from the wall. Tap, 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 like fingernails knocking on wood behind the towel. I didn't dare check. I curled into myself under a blanket until I finally slept out of pure exhaustion. In the morning, the towel was on the floor. Of course it was. The woman in the painting now had her hair in a ponytail, and I had tied my hair that exact same way when I walked past the mirror earlier. I hadn't even left the flat yet. She was copying me in real time. I tried messaging the old seller. The chat wouldn't open. Profile gone. Completely disappeared, like he never existed. I got this terrible idea to test it. I changed into a bright yellow shirt even though I hated it. I stared at the painting waiting. Her shirt changed slowly, like paint drying backwards. The cream dress faded into yellow, matching mine shade for shade. She smiled a little. That smile wasn't there before. My stomach twisted like something was pushing from inside. I ripped the painting off the wall and threw it into a cupboard. I slammed the door, dragged a chair against it, and then stacked boxes on top. I wasn't letting that thing see me anymore. But that night, I woke up to breathing. Slow, heavy, way too close. I stayed in bed, eyes closed. I didn't want to know. Then my curtains rustled though the window was shut. I felt the weight of someone sitting on the end of the bed. I forced myself to open my eyes. Nothing there. I crept to the cupboard and listened. Breathing. Inside. Not faint, right against the wood, like she was pressed there waiting for me to open it. I almost threw up. I didn't sleep. I watched the cupboard all night, chair still blocking it. At one point, the cupboard door thudded once. Hard. The chair jumped but stayed upright. Then silence. At dawn, I grabbed the painting while trying not to look at the front. I shoved it into a big bin bag and took it outside. There's a huge industrial skiv across the road. I tossed the bag in as fast as I could and ran back upstairs. I stared out the window for an hour, making sure nothing moved. Finally, I let myself breathe. Later that evening, I checked my phone. A marketplace notification. Suggested item for you. Vintage painting, $15. I tapped it. The picture was blurry, but I recognized it instantly. Same painting, except something was different. The woman in the painting wasn't copying my outfit anymore. She was wearing exactly what I wore the day I dumped her in the skip. Down to the shoes. And this time she wasn't alone. Behind her was a new figure forming. Half-painted, a shadowy outline of someone else. The proportions looked wrong, too long arms, too skinny neck, but the height. Same as mine. A message popped up as I stared at the listing. From a new account with no name. She likes living where you live. Another message. She wants to wear your face next. I was moving flats and didn't want to drag my old mattress with me. It wasn't even that old, just a cheap memory foam one from when I first moved out. So I stuck it on Facebook Marketplace for $30. Nothing fancy, just used double mattress, pickup only. A guy named Oliver messaged me in like 3 seconds. He asked a bunch of questions. Was it comfortable? Did anyone else sleep on it? Did I ever wake up sweating? Did I dream a lot? That last one should have been the moment I stopped replying, but I just said I dream sometimes like a normal person. He then asked if the nightmares stopped yet. I stared at my phone thinking maybe he typed the wrong chat. I told him I didn't have nightmares. He said good. Then he asked if he could come see the mattress in person. Not unusual, so I said okay. He showed up that evening. Normal looking guy. Hoodie, jeans, clean haircut. But he talked really slow, like each word was being dragged out. He kept touching the mattress like he was feeling for something under the surface. Then he asked the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. He said he needed to watch me sleep on it first, just for a little while, to make sure the nightmares were gone before he bought it. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. He didn't laugh. He just stared at me, eyes wide like it was the most reasonable request in the world. I asked why he needed that. He said the mattress used to belong to someone else before me. And before that, someone else. And before that, he didn't finish the sentence. He looked around my room and said the mattress likes to be tested in its own home. He said he wouldn't feel safe buying it if the nightmares weren't gone yet. I had no idea what to do. Tell him to leave? Call the police? So I tried to calm her and answer. I said I wasn't going to lie down on a bed while a random man watched me. He frowned that I disappointed him. Then he asked if he could at least lie down himself. I agreed because that seemed slightly less insane than him staring at me sleeping. He kicked off his shoes and lay flat on his back, closed his eyes, and immediately started breathing differently, faster, like he was in a panic. After like 15 seconds, he jolted up and rolled off the bed, shaking his head aggressively. He said no. No, no, no. They're still here. He wouldn't look at me anymore. I asked who's still here. He didn't answer. He just left without saying another word. That should have been the end. But later that night, he messaged me again. Do not sleep on it tonight. I blocked him because I was done entertaining whatever madness he was on. I tried sleeping on the couch, but it was uncomfy, so I eventually went to my room. I stared at the mattress for ages, thinking about what he said. Nightmares. They're still here. It sounded stupid. It was stupid. I laid down and told myself it's just foam and fabric. I fell asleep quick from exhaustion. I dreamt instantly. There were voices whispering under me, not around me, under me. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black, but I felt hands pressing upward through the mattress. Cold fingertips pushing against my back, my legs, my head, like something buried beneath the fabric was trying to claw its way out. I tried to get up, but I couldn't move. Something wrapped around my ankle, tight, pulling me down. I woke up screaming. Sweat dripping, legs shaking, my ankle throbbing. I turned the lamp on and it froze. There were finger marks on the mattress, dark like someone dragged dirty hands across it from underneath. And my ankle had a red ring around it like something grabbed me. I jumped off and pushed the mattress against the wall, heart pounding so loud it hurt. I sat awake until sunrise. First thing I did was message Oliver again, forgetting I blocked him. I unlocked and told him about the dream. He replied instantly like he was waiting. He said it wasn't a dream. He begged me to give the mattress to him, said he could keep them calm. That if I slept on it again, things would get worse and then take me too. I told him he could pick it up in the morning, whatever, just get it out of my flat. He came at 9 a.m. He looked more nervous than before. He dragged the mattress out with too much urgency, like he was scared it would wake up. He barely said goodbye, just kept glancing at the floor like something might start moving. A couple hours later, he messaged me. Thank you. They're quieter now. I tried to move on, tried to not think about it. That night, when I finally went to bed on my couch, I kept waking up to phantom voices like they were still under me. Curiosity killed my peace. I checked Marketplace again. The mattress was reposted. Same pictures, same stains, same price. Posted by a new profile. The caption said, "Nightmare's gone. Mattress ready for next home." Below that, a comment from Oliver's old account. "Let me know if he's still sleeping well." Then someone replied, "Third one this week." I threw my phone across the room and pulled every blanket over my head, shaking like a little kid. Now I can't sleep, because what if the nightmares weren't from the mattress? What if the mattress just noticed me? I wasn't even planning to buy anything that day. I was just scrolling Facebook Marketplace because I was bored waiting for my pasta to boil. I ended up in the weird handmade section where people sell stuff like knitted frogs and creepy crocheted babies. That's when I saw it. A handmade doll with button eyes, black yarn hair, and a stitched smile. The listing said $10. The caption said she's polite and quiet. Polite and quiet for a doll. I don't even collect dolls. But something about how rough and ugly cute it looked made me think it would be funny to put on my shelf. The seller's name was Nancy. Her profile picture was a blurry close-up of the doll itself, like she took it in the dark. I messaged asking if the doll was still for sale. She replied in seconds saying yes and asking if I wanted her dropped off today. I asked if she wanted me to meet her somewhere instead, but she insisted she would bring the doll to my home. She said she needed to be sure it had a house. That sentence should have made me say no, but I said yes anyway. She came almost immediately. I swear not even 20 minutes later, I got a knock at my door. I opened it and she was just there. Middle-aged, hair tied too tightly, cracked lipstick smeared a bit at the edges. No hello, no smile. She just held out the doll to me with both hands like she was offering me a newborn. I paid her and said thanks. She didn't leave right away. She looked past me into my flat and asked where the doll would be spending most of its time. I laughed awkwardly and said probably on my shelf. She nodded slowly like she was analyzing if that was acceptable. Then she said something real quiet before walking off. Tell me if she misbehaves. I closed the door and just stood there replaying those words. My pasta boiled over behind me and snapped me back to normal life. I dropped the doll on the couch and cleaned up the mess. When I came back, the doll wasn't where I put it. It was sitting upright at the edge of the couch cushion, legs dangling like someone positioned it carefully. I told myself it must have fallen and bounced, even though that made no sense. About an hour later, my phone buzzed. How was she settling in? I ignored the weirdness and said she's fine. 1 minute later, is she behaving? Then the same message again and again, one every single hour. Every time my phone buzzed, that same question popped up. Is she behaving? I muted the chat, but the messages still came. I got annoyed and shoved the doll into a drawer to get it out of sight. Later that night, I was half asleep watching videos when I heard a soft thud from across the room. I turned the light on. The drawer I put the doll in was slightly open. I sat up slowly, heart starting to pound. I told myself I probably didn't close it properly and got up to push it shut. Before I touched it, I saw 2 tiny feet sticking out. The doll was lying face down on the floor just beneath the drawer, as if she crawled to the edge and fell. My stomach dropped. I scooped the doll up quickly and shoved her back inside the drawer, slamming it harder this time. My phone buzzed. Is she behaving? I blocked the number instantly. Next morning, the drawer was open again, and the doll was sitting in my desk chair, facing my bed. The stitched smile looked different. It looked higher, like someone tightened the threads while I slept. I grabbed my phone and checked Facebook. The seller had messaged me from a new account. Please answer. Is she behaving? I blocked that account too. I put the doll in a box, taped it shut, and shoved it into my wardrobe behind my clothes. I felt ridiculous, but I didn't care. I wanted that thing locked away. That night around 3 a.m., I woke up to tapping. Soft, repetitive, like someone was bumping the inside of the wardrobe door. Tap, tap, tap. My chest tightened. I stared at the wardrobe knowing exactly what was inside. My phone buzzed under my pillow. Another new number. She doesn't like being ignored. Then another message. She's learning from you. I sat frozen. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. I forced myself out of bed and yanked the wardrobe door open with way too much force. The box was still there, still taped, still sealed. I reached to push it deeper into the wardrobe. The box shook. Something inside pushed upward, denting the cardboard lid from the inside like tiny fists pounding to get out. I stumbled back and grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a metal water bottle, and dropped it on the box. The pounding stopped. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I marched outside with the box and threw it into the big rubbish skip behind my building. I didn't care who thought I was insane. I just wanted that thing gone. I spent the whole day trying not to think about it. At 6 p.m. exactly, a knock on my door. Not loud. 2 taps, like a warning. My heart sank because I already knew. I opened the door just a crack. The box was sitting on the mat. The tape had been peeled away like someone carefully opened it and then boxed it back up. A sticky note was stuck to the top. I asked if she was behaving. My vision blurred. I slammed the door and locked all 3 locks. I ran to my phone ready to call the police, but then I noticed another notification. Marketplace. New listing suggestion for me. Handmade doll, $10. The photo was of the same doll, but something new in the picture. The doll was holding a pair of scissors. And the caption read, "She behaves better when she's not alone." My phone buzzed again. "Check your bed." I turned slowly, already knowing I'd see something. Blanket slightly lifted. Button eyes peeking out. That stitched smile stretched painfully wide. Finding a PlayStation 5 for cheap on Facebook Marketplace felt like hitting the jackpot. I've been hunting for ages. Most people sell them for stupid prices, but this listing said $250 and the description was short. Brand new, sealed, no scam. The seller's name was Diane. No profile picture, just a blank gray circle. But honestly, I didn't care as long as it was real. I messaged her asking if it was still available. She replied instantly. She asked when I could come pick it up. I said I could drive over now. She sent her address and said something weird that I'd be sure to come inside to check it properly. I brushed it off thinking she just didn't want complaints later. Her address was in a normal suburban area, houses lined up neatly, kids' bikes left on lawns. Nothing creepy. I parked outside and texted that I'd arrived. She didn't reply. I knocked instead. The door opened without a sound. A woman with long, messy hair stood there. Her face was pale, like she hadn't gone outside in years. She didn't say hi, didn't smile. She just stepped back and waved me in like she was scared to talk. I stepped inside and immediately felt something off. There were PlayStation 5 boxes everywhere, stacked up against the walls like a warehouse. Dozens of them. All identical, all sealed in plastic. At first I thought this lady was a reseller. I said, "Wow, you've got loads. Good business, huh?" She didn't react. Her eyes flicked to the boxes like she wanted me to notice something else. Then I heard it. A low buzzing, more like a vibrating sound. Not like a console fan, like something thumping from inside the cardboard. I tilted my head, trying to figure it out. The boxes were shaking, slight but noticeable, like something alive was inside each one. I turned slowly to look at her. She nodded once, not like she was proud or excited. What she was warning me. I backed up a step. She whispered in this raspy voice that I should pick one. I tried laughing it off, asking what the hell is that sound. She just repeated, "Pick one." Then she pointed at the stack nearest the hallway. Her hand was trembling. I didn't want to get closer, but I also didn't want to make her angry. I reached out and touched one of the boxes. The vibration stopped instantly. Silence. I pulled my hand back. The second I did, the shaking returned, harder this time, like something was reacting to me. I said I didn't want it anymore. She shook her head violently and said too late. I asked too late for what? She backed away toward the hallway, still staring at me with wide, terrified eyes, and whispered that once you come inside, you have to choose. I looked at the door behind me. Still open, I could have ran, but I didn't want to turn my back on any of those boxes. I kept facing them as I stepped backwards. The buzzing got louder, like dozens of insects trying to burst out. I turned to leave. The door slammed shut. I froze. She stayed standing in the dark hallway, her face barely visible. She whispered that they wake up when someone comes, that they listen for footsteps, that if no one picks one, they get angry. The buzzing turned into pounding, boxes rattling so hard they slid against the walls. I shouted, asking what she put in them. She didn't answer. She just slid down to the floor and covered her ears, shaking her head like she'd seen this too many times. One box fell over, then another. The stacks were collapsing like something inside was trying to break out. The pounding became violent, echoing through the whole house. It sounded like fists hitting from inside cardboard. Thick fists. I ran to the door and twisted the handle. Locked. Of course. I sprinted to the woman and demanded the key. She pointed behind me with a trembling finger. I turned and saw a single PlayStation 5 box in the center of the room, lid split slightly from all the shaking. It was rocking side to side like something inside was trying to stand up. She whispered, "That one picked you." I lost it. I grabbed the nearest heavy thing I could find, a lamp, and smashed it against the door handle. The metal cracked, but the lock held. The pounding behind me got louder and closer. I looked back. The box lid popped open. 2 hands burst out. Pale arms, thin like they'd never seen sunlight, grabbing the edge of the box to pull themselves up. Fingers long and stiff, nails sharp and broken. The cardboard ripped as they crawled. I kicked the door with everything I had. It finally snapped and I fell into the porch. I didn't care about the cellar anymore. I didn't care about the PlayStation 5. I ran to my car without looking back once. I drove home shaking the whole way. I tried calling the police. They didn't believe a word I said. They said if I thought someone was trapped, I needed to call back calmly. I haven't slept since. Every time I close my eyes, I see those hands. This morning, I checked Marketplace again out of stupid curiosity. The listing is still there. Same price. $250. New caption added at the bottom. One got out. Knee replacement. And the profile picture changed. It's a photo of me, taken last night, standing in her doorway. I thought buying a car seat secondhand would be the most boring purchase ever. Babies grow so fast, everyone sells their old stuff cheap. I found one on Facebook Marketplace for $25, and the seller lived only a short drive from me. The pictures looked clean and barely used. It was a dark gray seat with a padded headrest and one of those thick safety buckles. The seller's name was Claire. Her profile had a few sad-looking photos of a baby boy, but nothing else. No smiling family pics, no birthday posts, nothing. Just the baby. Same baby. Always strapped into that exact same seat. She wrote that she wanted it gone quickly. She said she'd be waiting outside. No details. Just that. I didn't think anything was weird yet. I just replied that I'd come around 6 p.m. When I turned up at her house, she was already standing on the pavement holding the car seat like she was scared I'd changed my mind. She looked exhausted. Her hands shook a little. I smiled and said hi. She didn't smile back. She just shoved the seat toward me and said, "Take it." I asked if everything worked fine. She nodded too fast. I handed her the cash, but she stared at the notes instead of taking them. I gently pushed them into her hand, and she said something under her breath like "take care of it," but her voice cracked so bad I wasn't even sure that's what she said. Then she turned around and walked back into the house without another word. That should have been my first warning. I put the car seat in my boot and drove home. I was excited to show my sister because she's having her baby soon, and I wanted to surprise her with something useful. When I got home and brought it inside, the first thing I noticed was how heavy it felt. Too heavy for just a seat, like there were weights inside the base. The photos didn't make it look big, but in person, it felt like a small coffin. I put it on my kitchen floor and unbuckled the straps to check everything. That's when I saw it. The fabric inside was shredded, not torn randomly like a pet did it. Shredded in long straight lines like fingernails or tiny hands had been clawing at it. There were grooves in the plastic too. Deep ones. Someone had scraped at it over and over and over, right where a child's hands and feet would be trapped. I stepped back so fast I hit the cabinets. My heart dropped straight into my stomach because I knew kids sometimes panic in seats, but this was different. This looked like someone had tried to escape. I texted my sister because she knows way more about baby gear than me and asked if this could be from something normal. She said no way. She told me expensive car seats don't tear like that unless someone is pressing insanely hard for a long time. Then she asked where I got it. Before I replied, I decided to flip the seat to check the underside. When I lifted it, the weight inside shifted like something loose was sliding inside the base. It made a dull scraping sound against the plastic. I felt sick. There was a sticker under there. A name written in marker. Not the brand. Not the model. Just a first name. Liam. I instantly remembered the baby from the profile pictures. He looked about 1 year old. The same name was printed on all the pictures she posted. Then I saw something else, scratched into the underside. Tiny letters, uneven, carved deep like whoever did it was desperate. Let me out. My hands dropped the seat and it thudded hard against the floor. My skin crawled so bad I wanted to run out of the flat and never look at it again. I messaged Claire asking what happened to the seat. I didn't mention what I found. I just said I needed to know if something was wrong with it. She left me on scene. Then 10 minutes later, she blocked me. I tried to ignore everything and told myself to throw the thing out first thing tomorrow. But later that night, when the flat was quiet, I heard a sound. Ticking. Soft. Repeated. Coming from the kitchen. I walked in slowly with the light on my phone shaking in my hand. The sound stopped as soon as I stepped close. I stood there staring at the car seat like it was a living thing. I backed away and went to bed leaving every single light on. At 3 a.m., something woke me up. It wasn't a sound this time. It was a feeling, like someone was watching me. I sat up and looked toward my bedroom door. The car seat was sitting just inside the room. I hadn't touched it. I know for a fact I left it in the kitchen. And it was heavy. No way it slid or fell or rolled on its own. I grabbed my phone to call someone, but it vibrated before I could unlock it. A text from an unknown number popped up. You have my son's seat. My throat closed up completely. Another message came. He never got out. I threw the phone onto the bed and ran to the front door, but then I heard the straps on the car seat tighten. Like something invisible was buckling them. The clicking noise echoed around my room. Click. 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 I ran straight outside without shoes and didn't stop until I reached my car. I slept there with the doors locked and engine off, curled up in the passenger seat like a scared child. When the sun came up, I forced myself to go back inside. I peeked around the door, terrified of what I'd see. The car seat was gone. Gone. I checked every room, shaking like mad. Nothing. Then my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I did anyway. It was a picture. The car seat. In the back of a car. Buckled in. Followed by a second message. He fits better now. I ran outside and looked all around, expecting to see Claire or someone else watching. Nothing. Later that day, I checked Marketplace again out of pure fear. The exact listing was back up. Same photos. Same price. Except the caption changed. It said, car seat still available. Buyer must have a child. And underneath that, preferably the same size as mine. I sold some of my gym stuff on Facebook Marketplace because I wasn't really using it anymore. I bought it during lockdown thinking I'd become super ripped in my room, but obviously that didn't happen. So I listed a dumbbell set, a pull-up bar, and a bench press for $100 altogether. The iron weights were scuffing my floor anyway. I expected it to take a week to get any interest. Within like 5 minutes, a guy named Derek messaged me. His profile picture was just him standing in front of a mirror shirtless, flexing with a really blank expression. No smile. No nothing. Just staring at the camera like he didn't know how faces worked. He asked if the equipment was still available and if he could pick it up that evening. I said yeah. He also asked if I used the equipment to get muscles. I said kind of, even though that was a lie. He then asked if he could come inside to test the weights. I hesitated because that sounded strange. Most people check gym stuff visually and then take it. I told him no and said he could check the weights in the hallway. He said all right, but he sounded weirdly disappointed. He arrived around 7 p.m. He looked exactly like his profile picture, huge arms, shaved head, veins everywhere. But his eyes freaked me out. He never blinked. Not once while talking. He just stared with this glazed look. And the staring wasn't at the weights. It was at me, the whole time. He picked up the dumbbells and said they were perfect. He paid the $100 in exact bills. Not worn or folded, crisp like straight from a bank. He asked if the equipment worked well for me, and I just nodded. Then he asked if I could send him videos of how I used to train with them. I told him nah, I never recorded myself. He asked again. I told him no again. He finally left, but he walked backward for a couple steps, still staring straight at me like he didn't want to lose eye contact. I shut the door fast and locked it. I told myself he was just a socially awkward gym guy. That night, at like 1 a.m., my phone buzzed. A video message from Derek. I opened it without thinking. It was him in his room, using my weights. His camera was propped up somewhere, recording him doing curls. But his head wasn't facing the weights. His eyes were locked onto the camera, onto me. The whole time he curled the dumbbells, he stared straight into the lens without blinking. His breathing was heavy, but his face was stiff like he was posing for a passport photo. He didn't say a word. At the end, he put the dumbbells down and stood still, just staring. The video paused. My heart was beating mad fast. Then another notification came. Another video. This one was him doing pull-ups. But again, no normal workout expression. Just his dead stare into the camera like he wasn't even focused on lifting himself. Like he wanted me to watch his face. I blocked him. The next day, different number. Another video. Bench press this time. But the angle was weird. The camera wasn't recording from a tripod or a table. It was too high up. Like someone was holding the phone above him. Someone taller. Or something standing above him. But nobody else was in the frame. Just him and that stare. He didn't blink once. He pressed the bar up and down, but his head never moved. I deleted the number, blocked again. That evening, it happened again. Another message from another unknown number. This one wasn't a workout video. It was him sitting cross-legged on the floor, dumbbells in his lap. And he smiled for the first time. Not a normal smile. A huge one that stretched too far up his cheeks. The lighting was low and his eyes reflected the light like he wasn't human. He whispered something, but there was no audio. It was like he recorded it on mute. But I could see his lips moving and forming my name. That made me throw the phone onto the sofa and just stare at it, scared to pick it up again. I contacted Facebook support and reported his accounts. It told me they'd look into it. But the videos didn't stop. He kept making new accounts, sending new numbers. One video showed him working out in a completely dark room, except the camera had night vision. His eyes glowed white. He lifted my weights slow while still staring at me. Not a single blink. Not even a twitch. I stopped opening the videos for a bit. But then one night I got a message from my own number, like my phone messaged me. It said, "You stopped watching." Then a video attached. I opened it because I panicked. It was him. In my hallway. Using my pull-up bar mounted on my wall. I fell off the bed. I ran to the door of my room and locked it. Footsteps creaked in the hall. Slow. Heavy. The sound of metal weights clinking together. I slid to the far side of my room holding my breath. I called the police whispering, but they said they'd come as soon as they could. I listened to the footsteps stop outside my door. Silence. Then a soft tapping. Not knocking. More like fingers drumming the wood in a slow rhythm, like he was counting seconds. Police finally arrived after what felt like years, but he was gone. Equipment gone too. They asked how he got in. I had no idea. Door wasn't broken. Windows locked. Keys untouched. They thought I made the whole thing up. I started staying somewhere else. Changed my number. New phone. New profile. Deleted Marketplace entirely. Weeks later, I felt like maybe things were getting better. No videos. No unknown messages. No footsteps. Then today, I opened YouTube to watch something. There was a recommended video titled, "Full Body Workout Routine Using Your Old Equipment." The thumbnail was Derek staring into the camera, smiling that stretched smile. The video was live. The title changed right while I stared at the screen. It now says, "Full Body Workout Routine with You." I've always loved books. I collect way more than I can ever finish, and the piles around my bed were starting to look like a fire hazard, so I decided it was time to get a bookshelf. A big one. Something with space so I wouldn't have to keep stacking books like bricks. I found one on a Facebook Marketplace for $30. It looked massive, like one of those tall library ones with 5 shelves and chunky wooden sides. The pictures made it look brand new. The seller's name was Peter. His profile looked normal enough, just a guy in a blue shirt smiling awkwardly. He replied instantly when I messaged. He sounded really excited that someone wanted his bookshelf. A bit too excited. He kept telling me how it was perfect for someone like me and that it would fit me beautifully. I thought he meant the style would fit the vibe of my room or something, so I'd ignored how weird that sounded. He said I could come pick it up later that evening because he was clearing out his storage unit. He gave me the address to this warehouse area on the edge of the city. It wasn't that late, about 7 p.m., so I figured it would be fine. When I arrived, the place looked abandoned. Low yellow lights flickering through grimy windows. His storage unit was open, the metal door rolled up halfway. Inside was dim, but I could see the bookshelf leaning upright against the wall. He came out of the shadows holding a tape measure like he'd been waiting. He smiled too big when he saw me. He kept saying I looked just like my profile picture. He took one step too close into my space and said the bookshelf would be perfect if he could just check something first. I told him I was here just to pay and take the thing home. He shook his head and said I needed to make sure it was comfortable for me. Then he kept insisting I step inside it. Inside the bookshelf. At first I laughed because I thought he was joking, but his face stayed serious. His eyes were wide, like he was holding back this intense excitement that made my stomach tighten. He walked over to the bookshelf, grabbed the top shelf, and tugged hard. The entire front swung open like a door. The shelves weren't shelves. They were shallow, almost fake, with the back removed. There was space inside. Human-sized space. He said if I just stepped inside for a second, I could see how roomy it was. He kept repeating the word roomy like it was his favorite word. He said I could even sit on the bottom. I wouldn't have to crouch. I stared at the hollow inside. The walls had metal rings drilled in, like places where someone could attach things. The floor had scratches. Deep ones. Lines carved by something trying to push or scrape out. He tapped the inside panel and said it closed from the outside to keep dust out. But then he covered the latch with his hand too quickly, like he didn't want me to see how it worked. I took a step back. He took a step forward. He kept talking about how perfect the fit would be. How you could take measurements properly if I just stepped inside and tried it. He begged with this weird smile stretching too wide now. His eyes flicked from my face to the open bookshelf doorway like he was imagining it already shut. I told him no. He tried to laugh it off like I was overreacting, but then he grabbed my arm. His grip was so tight that my skin was pinched between his fingers. He yanked me a little toward the open bookshelf and told me to stop being difficult, that this was part of the sale. My heart jumped into my throat. I ripped my arm away and stumbled back. He looked shocked that I resisted, like he thought I'd just go along with it. He took one more step toward me. I didn't wait for anything else. I turned and sprinted out the warehouse door down the road, not stopping until I saw cars again. I could hear him shouting behind me, but I didn't turn around. I didn't want to see if he was chasing me. I called my friend to pick me up because there was no way I was waiting there alone. When she arrived, she asked a million questions. I was shaking too hard to talk properly. When I got home, I blocked him immediately. But it didn't end. The next morning, I got a message from a new profile. No picture, just text. You left too fast. I blocked that one too. An hour later, another message. Same words, different account. You left too fast. I tried reporting him, but he kept making new accounts, just sending the same sentence, copy and paste, over and over. Later that night, I checked my front door and froze. There was a fresh scrape mark red on the bottom of the wood, like something heavy got dragged against it. Underneath, in black marker, one sentence. Next time, bring a tape measure. I locked every window and door. I called the police, but they asked if I actually saw him there. I didn't, so they just said to keep things secured. I didn't sleep. At 3 a.m., my phone buzzed, a picture message from yet another account. It was a photo of me, sitting on my couch, taken through my window. I screamed and ran to shut my curtains. I called the police again. They said to calm down, said they'd send someone in the morning unless I saw someone breaking in. They basically didn't care. I sat with a knife in my hand the rest of the night. Today, I checked Facebook again to see if any messages showed up. The listing for the bookshelf is back up. Same photos. Same price. $30. But the caption changed. It says, buyer must fit inside comfortably. Below that, my name. My exact full name. And my home address. I slammed my laptop shut. I'm writing this shaking like crazy. I don't know if he's still outside. I don't know how he got that picture. I keep hearing noises from the hallway. Soft thumps, like something heavy being dragged slowly against the wall. like a giant piece of furniture. Buying a fridge should not be scary. It should be boring. The most stressful part should be choosing the color or arguing about freezer space. But of course, I had to get mine from Facebook Marketplace because I'm cheap and hate spending full price on anything. I found this white fridge for $35. Looked clean, small enough for my flat, and the seller said it worked perfectly. His name was Mr. K on Marketplace. No picture, no info. The listing had just one sentence: keep it plugged in. I didn't think that was weird at first. Just someone reminding buyers that appliances only work when plugged in. Whatever. He offered free delivery, which was nice because I don't drive. He messaged saying he'd arrive late around 10 p.m. Kinda late, but I needed a fridge badly, so I said sure. At 10:04 exactly, he knocked once. When I opened the door, he was already halfway inside, dragging the fridge carefully like he didn't want to bump it. He kept saying do not tilt it too much, do not unplug it unless absolutely needed, and do not open the freezer part until tomorrow. He said everything with this weird urgency in his voice, like he wasn't just giving fridge advice but warning me. When I tried making small talk, he barely answered, just stared at the fridge the whole time. When he was done positioning it, he gave me the plug and told me again, keep it plugged in. He didn't even wait for payment. He left so fast that I had to shout to remind him I still had his cash. He just said keep it. Then the door closed. I stood there like what the hell is wrong with people? I plugged the fridge in and the motor made a low rumbling sound. Normal enough. I wiped the outside down and stuck a few magnets on the door just to feel like I owned the place properly. 5 minutes later, I heard a knock. Not at my door. Inside the fridge. I froze. The knock came again. 3 sharp thuds like someone's fist hitting metal from the inside. I stared at the fridge, not breathing. Maybe it was just the compressor kicking in weird. Metal expanding with temperature change. Then the knocking got faster. Desperate. Panicked. Like someone banging and trying to get my attention. I backed up until I hit the counter. I was alone. It was almost 11 at night. My neighbors were probably asleep. I grabbed a broom like that would protect me from whatever was inside. I reached out with one shaky hand and pulled the fridge door open. Silence. Cold air brushed my hand. Nothing more. The fridge was completely empty. No leaks, no weird smells, no creature living inside. Just a normal fridge. I laughed nervously and felt stupid. I tapped the inside walls with my knuckle. It made a similar sound. That had to be it. Just the fridge settling. I closed it again. The second the door clicked shut, the knocking returned. Louder. Angry now, I yanked the door open fast. Silence again. At that point, my heart was punching my ribs so hard I almost unplugged the fridge and dragged it outside. But I was tired and convinced myself it was just the compressor. Machines can be loud sometimes, right? I tried to sleep, but from my room I could hear it. The knocking started slow, then quick, then slow again. I turned up the TV, shoved a pillow over my head, but it wouldn't stop. It went all night. Around 3 a.m., I got a message from Mr. K. Is it still plugged in? I replied asking what he sold me. He ignored that and just messaged again. Do not unplug it. Do not open the freezer. That freaked me out more. I didn't reply again. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, my entire kitchen smelled slightly like iron, metallic. I walked in and saw a few droplets of dark wet spots near the bottom of the fridge. Not like water. Thicker. I opened the main door slowly. Still empty. Cold. But the smell got stronger. My eyes drifted up to the freezer door. I remembered him saying not to open it, which of course made me want to open it way more. The knocking started again, but this time from the freezer door specifically. Like something trapped in there heard me thinking about it. I reached up. My fingers touched the handle. The knocking stopped instantly. I hesitated. My entire brain screamed not to open it, but my hand was already pulling. The freezer door creaked open. Something slammed into it from the inside. I fell back, smacking my elbow against the cabinet. The freezer door bounced half shut again, and from the small gap, cold mist puffed out along with the smell of blood. Yeah, blood. The knocking resumed. Hard, furious, shaking the whole fridge. I scrambled to my phone and called the police. I told him someone might be trapped inside a freezer. They asked dumb questions like why I didn't report it sooner. I just kept saying, please come now. I unplugged the fridge because I panicked, forgetting the warning. The knocking stopped instantly. Silence. Too silent. I took a step toward the fridge. The freezer door flew open and something fell out. A hand. Black frozen fingers, bent and stiff, a whole arm attached. I screamed so loud I nearly passed out. Police arrived minutes later. They found the rest of the body inside, chopped into cold chunks like meat, a missing person. They think Mr. K murdered them and used the fridge as a hiding place. They asked how long the knocking had been happening. They said the body was frozen solid for days. Dead. But dead things aren't supposed to knock. I've been trying to forget, trying to convince myself I imagined some parts. But last night, my phone lit up with a notification from Marketplace. A new listing. The same fridge. Same photos. Same description. Keep it plugged in. Same seller too. Profile name, Mr. K. But the weirdest part, he added a new line under the price. Buyer must live alone. I only joined Facebook Marketplace because my wardrobe was exploding. I buy too much stuff and then forget I even own it. So I listed like 5 tops and 3 pairs of jeans, just trying to make back a little money before throwing everything in a charity bin. My profile picture at the time was me wearing a black jacket, a white fitted top, and ripped blue jeans. I took it outside of my uni building. Sun was out. Cute picture. I didn't even think twice about it. That night, I got a message from someone named Carl. His profile picture was just a gray circle, like he didn't upload anything. No posts, no friends. One of those ghost accounts. He said he was interested in my clothes. I asked which ones because I listed loads. He said all. Every single one. Weird, but okay, maybe someone just wants a whole bundle. He asked if he could see more photos of me wearing them. I said no and told him to check the listing pictures. He replied almost instantly. Not those ones. The ones you're wearing right now. I stared at the message for a full minute because how would he even know what I was wearing? Then I realized he must mean my profile picture outfit. I joked back that those ones weren't for sale. He replied, I will pay whatever you want for that outfit. I rolled my eyes, some creepy dude being creepy. I told him again those weren't for sale and that I only listed second-hand stuff. He didn't reply for a bit, so I thought that was done. Around 1 a.m., my phone pinged again. New message. Same guy. Please, I need that exact outfit. The jacket, the top, the jeans, the shoes too. The shoes weren't even visible in my profile picture. I never posted them anywhere. That made my stomach twist like something was wrong. I asked how he knew what shoes I was wearing. No reply. Just a typing bubble that kept disappearing like he was thinking too much. Finally, he sent. I see them right now. I sat up straight in bed. My curtains were closed. No windows facing inside my room. I kept telling myself he was just trying to scare me, guessing or whatever. I blocked him. Next morning, I woke up and checked my listings. He had commented under every single one. Not asking about the clothes in the listing. Just repeating one sentence. Wear the outfit. I deleted the comments and changed my profile picture to something random from a year ago. Then I set all my personal details to private. I tried to forget. Later that day, I walked to the shop in that same black jacket and white top. The jeans were different, but still ripped ones. It was cold, so I didn't think much about someone maybe recognizing me. When I came out, a car parked weirdly close rolled down its window. A man leaned forward, sunglasses on even though it was cloudy. Nice jacket. Same voice as the Marketplace message? I couldn't be sure, but the way he stared made me want to run. I speed walked home looking behind me every 2 seconds. When I got inside, I double-locked my door and checked Facebook again. He'd made a new account with a different name and messaged me again. Same request. Same demand, like he didn't even care he was blocked. I blocked that one too, and then another, and another. He made 4 in 1 hour, all saying the same thing. I want your outfit. I threw my phone on the sofa and tried to distract myself by making dinner. Halfway through chopping vegetables, I noticed WhatsApp notifications from an unknown number. I opened it and immediately dropped my phone. It was a picture of me walking back from the shop earlier, taken from behind. The caption said, "Where did you go?" My heart pounded so loud I could feel it in my ears. I shut every curtain and checked the peef, checked the front door cracks. Everything looked normal, but someone had followed me. I messaged back asking who it was. He replied immediately, "I am outside. Can I come try the clothes on?" I slammed my bedroom door shut as if that would help. I called my friend crying, and she came to stay the night. She checked everywhere and said no one was outside. No car, no dude, nothing. She tried to calm me down, saying it was some freak messing with me. I believed her because I wanted to believe her. But in the morning when she left for work, she called me 2 minutes later, her voice shaking. She said my jacket was hanging off the railing by the entrance to the building. The same black jacket from the picture. I never left it outside. I had hung it up in my closet the night before. I swore I did. My friend grabbed it and brought it back up, not letting go the whole ride in the lift. Inside the pocket, there was a folded piece of paper. I didn't want it unfolded. She did. It said, "Thank you. Tonight the rest." The rest? The top? The jeans? Me. I told her I was calling the police. She insisted I stay with her instead. We grabbed my essentials and left the flat. As soon as we stepped outside, I saw a car parked across the road. Same type as the one by the shop yesterday. Same dent on the bonnet. The driver was staring at us, not moving, not blinking. I sped up and got to her car. Right when we pulled away, my phone buzzed again. "Why did you change clothes?" I looked down. I was wearing her hoodie and leggings. He must have been watching me change before I left, inside of my flat. I haven't gone back since. My friend helped me request new locks. I'm terrified the whole time someone might be inside waiting. I changed all my profile pictures, deleted everything with my face, but he still messages me from random numbers. Every time he sends one, the same words. I want what's mine. I just wanted a decent dining table so I didn't have to keep eating noodles on my lap like some sort of goblin. My new flat looked empty without one, and I found this chunky wooden table on Facebook Marketplace for $60. Looked strong, real wood, not that cheap flimsy stuff. The seller's name was Frank. His listing said he was moving out and everything had to go. He messaged back quick saying he even helped me load it into my car if I came soon because someone else might grab it. I convinced my friend Adam to tag along and we drove to the address. It was this run-down terraced house. Curtains ripped, door peeling like it got scratched a bunch of times. Frank looked like he was halfway through packing, but honestly, it looked like he'd been halfway through packing for years. He barely spoke, just nodded and pointed at the table, which was already by the door. The table was heavier than it looked. Took all three of us to slide it into the car. Frank insisted I could get upright, saying not to flip it over because the screws might loosen. Weirdly intense about it. Adam joked, asking if there was a monster trapped under it, but Frank didn't laugh. He clenched his jaw and told me to make sure I liked where I put it the first time so I wouldn't need to move it around. We drove off like nothing was weird. At home, Adam helped me set it in the dining area. We pushed it right into place and both sort of stepped back to admire it. It looked good. Made my flat feel like somewhere an adult might live instead of a student cave. Adam left and I ordered pizza because a new dining table deserves celebration. Later, while wiping the table clean, I noticed a corner underneath where the wood looked scratched. Curiosity won. I crouched down and tried to see better, but it was dark. So I slid a lamp across and ducked underneath. There was writing carved into the underside. Names, lots of them. Different handwriting, different depths, some faded, some fresh like the wood was scraped recently. The first row had 5 names with dates next to them. All old, like 10 years ago. I moved along the underside. More names, more dates. It felt like reading a list of, I don't even know. I tried to tell myself maybe it was like a fun tradition from a family who owned it. Then I saw one that made me freeze so hard it hurt. Adam, and yesterday's date. Yesterday, The day Frank listed the table. My throat dried out completely. I kept looking because I couldn't stop myself. That's when I found my own name. Not nicknamed. Not misspelled. My full legal name carved deep and angry into the wood. And the date next to it wasn't yesterday. It was tomorrow. I yanked myself back so fast I cracked my head on the edge of the table. I grabbed my phone and called Adam to come back because I was freaking out and tried to tell them what I saw. He laughed like I'd been drinking again and said I was being dramatic. He told me to just go to sleep and chill. I tried removing the tablecloth like that would somehow erase what I saw. It didn't. I kept pacing the living room telling myself this was some stupid prank. Maybe Frank stalked us online. Maybe he saw our name somehow. But how would he know tomorrow's date next to my name? I decided to call Frank. He didn't answer. Straight to voicemail. I sent him a long message saying I wanted to return the table right now. No reply. I didn't want to sleep near that thing. I dragged my duvet into the living room and lay on the couch with the TV on just for noise. I left the dining light on too. Every now and then I would peek at the table like it was going to move. Around 3 a.m., the lights flickered. Just once. Then again. The house went dead quiet. Even the street noise disappeared. I stared into the dim room and swore something moved under that table. A shadow, like someone crawling out from beneath it. I squeezed my eyes shut and told myself I'm dreaming, but my heart was smashing against my ribs. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and typed a message to Adam saying I was scared. Right before hitting send, a new message popped up from an unknown number. Almost time. The profile picture was a blurry image of the underside of my table, the carved names, the list, mine. I dropped my phone. My hands were full shaking by then. I backed up into the kitchen grabbing a knife because my brain was convinced someone else was in the flat. I made myself look again. The table was just a table, silent, still. No crawling thing, no shadow now. The rest of the night I didn't sleep even 1 minute. When morning finally happened, light coming in through the blinds felt unreal. I crawled toward the table again because I had to confirm. I needed it to be a hallucination, a joke, something. But the carvings were still there, deeper than before. My name had been carved again underneath the first one. Same date, tomorrow. Twice. My stomach flipped like I was going to pass out. The worst part. Adam's name now had today's date carved next to his. Last night it said yesterday. That meant the dates were updating, changing, counting down, predicting. I panicked and called Adam nonstop. He finally answered and said I was annoying him. I begged him to come over or at least not leave home today. He hung up on me laughing. I grabbed my keys and ran to my car still in pajamas. I had to show him. I drove like a madman all the way to his place. But when I got there, flashing lights and police cars were already outside. Ambulance too. His neighbor told me Adam slipped down the stairs and broke his neck. It literally happened less than an hour before. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stood there like a statue listening to that sentence echo in my head. Yesterday's name. Today's date. I wanted to throw up because I knew what was next. Me. Tomorrow. I went home shaking so hard I could barely fit my key in the lock. I marched straight to the table, flipping it over with every bit of strength I had. It slammed on its side. Dust everywhere. I stared at the underside to check again. More names were added. Past ones. New ones. I saw another fresh carving appear right in front of me. The wood cutting itself. Tiny curls of wood falling like someone was carving from inside it. It spelled out something new beneath my name. Tonight. That was enough. I dragged the table into the garden and smashed it with a hammer until the wood splintered. Every part that had names, I smashed until it turned to chips. I kept going until I couldn't lift the hammer anymore. I threw the broken pieces into a skip and ran back inside. I locked every door, every window. It's dark now. The clock says 11:52 p.m. I keep hearing noises outside. Wood scraping, like heavy furniture being dragged across concrete. I'm typing this while listening to something, being placed right outside my window. I don't want to look. I'm not even a mum yet. I just like being stupidly prepared for things way too early. I found out I was pregnant and immediately started hunting for bargains on Facebook Marketplace. I saw a really nice stroller for $40. Black, clean, hardly used according to the description. I messaged the seller, a woman named Marie. Her profile picture looked normal, just her holding a small baby bundled in a blanket. She replied super fast saying she was glad someone wanted it. She asked if I could collect it that same evening. I didn't think anything of it. People always want their stuff gone quick, so I told her I'd bring cash and come by. She lived in this old flat building near the hospital. The hallways were long and quiet, and the lights flickered. Her door opened almost before I knocked. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, and she kept twitching like she hadn't slept in days. The stroller was right by the door. It looked perfect. She stared at it a long time before looking up at me. I told her it was lovely and that my baby wasn't due yet, but I wanted to start getting things ready. She nodded once, but instead of smiling, she just whispered that her baby never made it home. I stood there frozen because I didn't know what she meant. I thought maybe she was grieving and selling the stroller was really emotional for her. I told her I was sorry even though I didn't know what happened. She handed me the stroller really slow. Then she gripped my wrist and asked me a weird question. She asked if I could send her pictures of the stroller in use once my baby arrived. She kept saying it over and over. She wanted photos, updates. She said she needed to see the stroller doing what it was supposed to do. I felt awkward, but she seemed desperate, so I said maybe, just to get out of there. I handed her the money. She shoved it into her pocket without looking, and I left with the stroller as fast as I could. For a few weeks, nothing weird happened. I kept the stroller in my hallway. My bump was getting bigger. I'd look at it sometimes and imagine pushing my baby around shops. Everything felt normal. Then one night I woke up to a creaking sound in the dark. I thought it was the wind or the flats shifting or whatever. But the sound moved, slowly, rolling. It came from my hallway, like wheels turning. I got up and checked, thinking maybe the stroller leaned funny and moved, but it was parked perfectly, exactly where I left it. I told myself it was just the house making noises and went back to bed. Next day, a message came from Murdy. She asked if the stroller was settling in well. Who even asks that? I didn't reply. Later she double messaged, then triple messaged, begging for even just one picture. She said she wanted to feel like the stroller was helping a baby finally come home. That scared me. I muted the chat. That night, the creaking came again, but faster this time. I sat up and listened. It wasn't coming from the hallway. It was coming from right outside my bedroom door. Something gently bumped the door from the other side, like wheels nudging the wood. I turned my lamp on and stared at the door, waiting. Nothing else happened. No one there when I checked. I locked myself in the room for the rest of the night. I told myself I'd sell the stroller the next morning, get rid of it. When I grabbed it to bring it outside, something crinkled. A sound from inside the little pocket at the back. I unzipped it thinking maybe a receipt. Instead, I pulled out a folded hospital tag, a newborn ID band. It had a name scribbled on it, the same last name as Marie. It was stained, brownish, old. I dropped it and backed away. I checked the bottom storage area and found a bundle of blankets. I didn't want to touch them, but I used a coat hanger to move them. Underneath was something wrapped tight in plastic. I didn't open it. I just ran to the sink and gagged, shaking like I was about to pass out. There was no way she left something normal in there. My phone buzzed. It was Marie again. She said she felt connected to me, to my baby, that she could feel the stroller taking care of us already. She said that sometimes the stroller missed being in a hospital and needed to move around at night. She kept typing like she wasn't breathing. She ended with saying she hoped the stroller didn't scare me last night, that she told it to be gentle. I blocked her instantly. I didn't know what to do with the stroller. Throwing it away felt too simple, like it wouldn't solve anything. I called my friend's boyfriend who has a car and asked him to take it to the tip with me. I didn't tell him anything. We dumped it there, and I thought that was the end. That night, around 4 a.m., something slammed hard against my front door. Metal clanging. I sat up holding my belly like that would protect my baby somehow. Another slam. Then a soft scraping sound. I got up, creeping to the door, barely breathing. A photo slid underneath. A printed photo. Of the stroller. Parked right in front of my building. The next night, the same thing happened. Another slam. Another photo. This time the stroller was right outside of my flat door, folded open like someone had just pushed it there. I woke up every hour terrified someone was in the hallway. Third night, no slamming, no pictures, silence. I thought maybe it was finally done. Morning came. I opened my front door to go to the shop. The stroller was inside my hallway, standing up, facing my bedroom, waiting. I called the police. They checked the building cameras. They said no one came in last night except me. My door never opened after I locked it. They told me it was probably a prank, but they didn't see the note taped to the handle. It was written in shaky handwriting. Thank you for letting him come home. He missed his stroller. My old phone had been sitting in a drawer for months after I dropped it outside a takeaway and smashed the screen into spider webs. It still powered on, but the screen didn't respond to anything, so it was basically useless. I decided to sell it cheap on Facebook Marketplace because someone might fix it for parts or whatever. I put it up for $20 with a description saying it was broken and the buyer would need to fix the screen themselves. A guy messaged within a minute. His name on Marketplace was Dan. No profile picture, no info. He just said he'd take it and asked for my address. I told him we could meet somewhere public instead, but he insisted that he needed to pick it up from my place so he could test something with his tools before paying. That sounded dodgy, but I was home anyway and didn't want to deal with messaging back and forth for days. 10 minutes later, he was already outside. I swear I barely had time to brush my hair. He showed up at my door wearing a black hoodie with the hood up even though it wasn't cold. He spoke really quietly, barely above a mumble, and didn't look at me, just at the phone. He held it like it was something precious. He handed me $20 and walked away without saying thanks or goodbye. I shut the door and forgot about it instantly. That night around midnight, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message and saw a photo, a picture of my living room, taken from the corner near the door. I thought maybe it was an old picture I accidentally left on my phone, but then I realized it wasn't from my phone. My current phone had never taken that picture. The angle was higher, like from someone tall, and the lights in the photo were off even though the lamp was on right now. I deleted the message thinking maybe some weird glitch happened. Then another one came a minute later. My bedroom, my bed, sheets messy. I had literally just gotten up from there. The timestamp said it was taken 10 minutes before. I freaked out and texted back asking who it was. No reply. Then I got a third picture. It was of me, standing in my hallway just now checking my phone. I dropped the phone like it burned me. That picture meant someone was in my house or looking through a camera inside. I searched the flat like a maniac. Under the bed, behind the shower curtain, inside the wardrobe. Nothing. My front door was still locked too. I went back to my phone shaking and another message came through. Nice place. I called the police, but they asked if I recognized the number or gave anyone permission to take pictures. I explained the phone thing, but they didn't get it. They said if someone broke in, it would have triggered the alarm or left signs. It basically told me to call back if something actually happened. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I checked Marketplace and found the listing still active. Dan had left me a message there too. Thanks for the phone. Working great now. It wasn't possible. The screen was dead. It needed parts. It couldn't work like that. But then I remembered. Cameras can still be triggered even with a broken screen if someone connects it to something else. My stomach dropped. He wasn't messaging from a new number. He was messaging me from my phone, using the camera inside my house. I texted the unknown number again, demanding he stop. A new picture came back instantly. My kitchen. Cupboard open. The one where I keep the knives. Another message. You sleep too heavy. I called my friend and begged her to let me stay at hers. I shoved some clothes into a bag and got the hell out. I didn't go back until the evening next day. I told myself he probably stopped now that I left, and it was all over. As soon as I walked inside, I heard a faint buzzing from somewhere near my sofa. My heart dropped again. It was my old phone. It was under the cushion. It shouldn't have been there. Dan took it. He left. He never came back. How did it get inside again? I picked it up using a towel because I didn't want to touch it directly. The screen was cracked but lit up now, and the lock screen wallpaper wasn't its original one. It was me, sleeping, taken from an angle above my bed, and the reflection of my wardrobe door behind me in the picture. Someone stood over me completely still. I threw the phone to the floor and stepped back until my back hit the hallway wall. I wanted to call the police again, but then the phone on the floor vibrated. More pictures popped up one after another. My bathroom, my boiler cupboard, my front door from the inside. Then, the space under my bed. I couldn't breathe for a second. My knees almost gave out. I grabbed a metal bar from my wardrobe rail and dropped flat to the floor, lifting the duvet to look under the bed. Nothing. The pictures kept coming. The last one made me drop the bar. It was taken from my doorway. Me, right now, looking terrified holding a metal bar. And behind me in the picture, right behind my shoulder, I could see something blurry, a dark shape, taller than me. I spun around swinging blindly. Nothing was there. But then a new message appeared on the phone speaker. He's coming back later. He, not me, not the person messaging, someone else. I grabbed the phone and smashed it with a metal bar until the screen shattered into pieces and the camera lens cracked. Then I threw everything into a bin outside. I begged the police to send someone to check the house properly this time. They did a full search. Nobody found. No signs of break-in. They said it was a prank and left. I haven't been sleeping in my room since. I lock every door, check every cupboard. But every morning when I wake up, my front door is unlocked again. Whoever he is, he must still have a key or be already inside. I bought this used laptop because mine completely died during an update and refused to switch on again. I didn't have money for a new one, so I searched Facebook Marketplace like everyone does when they're broke. I found a pretty decent one for $120. The seller said it worked perfectly, just had a few scuffs. I didn't really care about looks anyway. I just needed something to do my uni work and chill on Netflix. The seller's name was Lucas. His profile was normal enough. A few pictures of him holding a cat and some random food pics. He messaged me back super fast and asked where I live and when he could drop it off. He offered same-day delivery for free. That already felt a bit too nice, but I accepted because I needed it urgently. When he arrived, I noticed he was strange. He stood a little too close when he talked and kept glancing at my window like he was checking something behind me. He said he factory reset the laptop so it was fresh for me, then asked me to text him if I had any issues at all. He asked like 3 times. I said, yeah, cool, thanks. He smiled way too long before he left. I set the laptop up on my desk and plugged it in because the battery was dead. It took a minute to boot up, but everything looked normal. Basic wallpaper, no apps installed. The file explorer only had a folder called System. I ignored it and downloaded some stuff I needed. I was happy that I finally had a working device again. When I opened Google Chrome, the first weird thing happened. A file window popped up on its own like someone pressed the keyboard. It opened a picture. A photo of a guy in his garden smiling at the camera. I didn't recognize him. I tried closing it, but another one opened. A girl sitting in a car. Then a little kid holding a balloon at a party. Then a woman cooking in her kitchen. Different people every time. Like snapshots of random lives. The pictures looked like they were taken secretly. The angles were always off, like from behind something. I checked the folder where they were coming from. There wasn't one. These photos didn't show up in any directory. They just appeared on screen, then vanished when I closed them. I told myself maybe it was the browser glitching or a virus. So I shut the laptop down and restarted it. For a while it was fine. I watched a show and forgot about it. Later that night, I was eating in bed and scrolling on my phone when I heard the laptop click open by itself. The hinge moved like someone slowly lifted the screen. I froze. I knew I had closed it fully. I got up and walked over carefully. The screen lit up before I even touched it. Another picture opened. A baby sleeping in a cot. Flash used. The kid's eyes looked wet like they'd just cried. I closed the lid and left the laptop on the desk. I didn't want to look anymore. The next morning I tried to delete everything and reset it again myself. The laptop refused. Every button I clicked opened the image viewer. New faces. Old people eating in a restaurant. A woman brushing her teeth. A man sitting on his sofa staring right at the camera like he knew it was there. That one messed me up. I thought maybe Lucas messed with me. I went on Marketplace to message him, but his profile was gone. Completely deleted. The sale history still showed the payment, but when I clicked his name it said user not found. Creepy, but I tried not to panic yet. Later that evening I heard the laptop fan go on even though I hadn't touched it all day. When I opened it, there were dozens of pictures auto-scrolling one after the other, all different strangers. Some crying, some asleep, some looking terrified into the lens. Then suddenly the scrolling stopped. The next photo was my living room, taken from the angle where the laptop sat. I slapped the lid shut so fast I nearly broke it. My hands were shaking. I sat on the floor trying to breathe because that picture meant the camera was active and watching. I grabbed a piece of tape and covered the webcam. When I opened it again, a photo popped up immediately. My kitchen this time. Then my hallway. Then me from behind earlier that morning walking out of my room. That made no sense. I hadn't turned it on then. But there I was in the picture. It wasn't screenshots either. It had a slight blur like someone walked while taking it. Someone was taking photos from inside of my flat. I unplugged the laptop, turned it off, shut the lid, and shoved it into a drawer. I tried to calm down, but my brain was just going mad with fear. What if someone bugged it? What if there's a hidden camera inside? What if someone was still inside my flat? Around 3 a.m., the drawer shook. A thud. Then another, like something inside wanted out. Then I heard the laptop start up. The fan whirring loudly. The drawer handle jiggled like it was pulled from the inside. I ran out of my room and locked myself in the bathroom. I sat with my ear against the door listening. The laptop dinged loudly like files were being opened one after the other. I covered my mouth so I wouldn't make noise. I didn't go back into my room until the sun came up. When I did, the drawer was open and the laptop sat on my desk again, screen glowing. One single image on display. My face. Taken while I slept on the bathroom floor. My eyes were closed in the picture, but in the reflection on the bathroom door behind me in the image, my reflection's eyes were open, watching me. My stomach felt like I was going to puke. I slammed the laptop shut and wrapped it in a blanket. I didn't even want to touch it anymore. I walked straight outside and threw it in the rubbish skip down the street. I changed all my locks and stayed at a friend's place for a week. Yesterday, I went back home to grab some things. When I opened my bedroom door, the laptop was sitting on my bed, wrapped in the same blanket. Open, camera facing the door, a fresh picture displayed. Me standing in the doorway, right now, as if it read me coming. I needed a wardrobe because all my clothes were stacked on a chair and the room looked like a laundry basket exploded. I didn't want to spend loads, so I went on Facebook Marketplace and scrolled until I found this massive wooden wardrobe for $50. It looked solid and way nicer than anything cheap you'd get from a flat pack place. The guy selling it replied fast and said it was still available. He also said he would deliver it for free because it was too heavy for me to carry. I thought he was just being helpful, or desperate to get rid of it. He asked for my address straight away. I hesitated but then just sent it. He told me he'd arrive that evening and that I needed to be home because he wanted to place it exactly where it belonged. That part sounded weird, but I told myself maybe he didn't want me dragging it around and damaging it. Around 7 p.m., he arrived in this old white van with no company logos or anything. The back doors were dented like something punched them from the inside. He jumped out before I could even reach the door. He was tall, beard covering half his neck, and his eyes didn't blink much. He didn't really say hi. He just asked which room was mine. I didn't want him walking through the entire flat, but he insisted. He kept saying it needed to be in the correct room, that if it went anywhere else, it would be a problem. I didn't want to argue with a stranger who was already inside my place, so I showed him to my bedroom. He nodded like he approved, then walked out without a word. I stood in the hallway hearing scraping sounds and bangs from the van. When he dragged the wardrobe in, I finally saw the doors up close. Thick wood, a little faded but strong, but what stood out were the metal locks. On the outside, big chumpy locks like someone wanted to keep something inside, or someone. I laughed nervously and said that's a bit dramatic for a wardrobe. He stared at the locks and said they were necessary. I tried to act cool like I wasn't freaked out. He dragged it right up against my bedroom wall. The doors rattled, like something tapped from inside when he let go. He didn't notice or pretended not to. He told me to try opening it myself. When I pulled the handle, the door stuck at first, then opened with a loud squeak. It smelled weird inside. Not like old wood or dust, more like sweat trapped in somewhere small. and the inside walls had scratches, deep grooves that looked fresh. I stepped back quick. He pushed the door closed again and locked it with a key. Then he slid the key across my desk. He said I should never leave it open too long. I didn't know what to reply. He asked if he could see it from inside my closet view. I thought he meant like making sure it fit the space. But then he stepped into my bedroom doorway and stared at the wardrobe like he was imagining something. He whispered that this room is perfect. Perfect for what? He didn't explain. He finally left after repeating that I should always keep it locked. I tried to distract myself with some YouTube, telling myself he was just socially weird. People can be odd. Doesn't make them dangerous. Right. Later, when I was getting ready for bed, I kept glancing at the wardrobe. The locks gleamed like eyes staring back. I brushed my teeth and came back into my bedroom, and I swear one of the locks was turned like it had been opened slightly. The door sat uneven like something inside pushed it. I grabbed the key and locked it again, shaking because I didn't want to admit I was freaked out. I put some music on and tried to sleep. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a single loud click. The lock clicking open. I froze. I didn't dare sit up. My bedroom was so quiet that I could hear my own heartbeat punching through my chest. A tiny creak, like the wardrobe door opening, very slow. I turned my head a bit so I could see without moving too much. The door had opened a crack. Darkness inside, but not empty darkness. Darkness that looked thicker, like something was standing close to the opening. The smell hit my nose next. That same trapped sweat stench. I held my breath. The door creaked more. It was opening inch by inch. I clenched my fist around my phone thinking about calling someone, but my fingers wouldn't unlock the screen. I just watched, waiting for a hand or a face or something to show. Then the wardrobe stopped moving. The door stayed open just enough for someone to be staring out at me from the gap. I stared back for what felt like hours. I don't remember falling asleep. I don't even know how that happened, but next thing I knew, sunlight was coming through the blinds. The wardrobe was fully closed again. The locks were fastened like nothing happened. I convinced myself it was a dream. Stress, whatever. I had classes later, but when I opened my bag, the wardrobe key was placed inside it. I never put it there. I always keep keys on the desk. I told myself maybe I did it without noticing, but my hands were shaking too much to believe that. I messaged the seller asking if there was anything I needed to know. He replied instantly. He said thanks for taking care of it. Taking care of what? I asked again, and he said I should keep the wardrobe locked every night or things would get worse. I blocked him. That night, before bed, I placed a chair in front of the wardrobe. I didn't think it would help if something really wanted out, but it made me feel less helpless. Around 2:50 a.m., the chair scraped softly like something inside pushed the door, and the chair slid a little. I sat up straight. The lock clicked again. The chair moved another inch, then another. The wardrobe door thumped against the chair like someone inside got annoyed. I held the phone to call emergency, but what do I even say? A haunted wardrobe is bugging me. The final push knocked the chair over. The door burst open, and I heard breathing. Not like monster breathing. Human breathing. Heavy and slow. Something tall stepped 1 foot out. A bare foot. I saw toes and a dirty ankle. I saw fingers grip the edge of the door like it wanted balance. I couldn't look anymore. I bolted out of the room and slammed the bedroom door shut behind me. I heard the wardrobe door slam inside my room, then silence. I slept on the couch gripping the wardrobe key all night. When morning came, I packed a bag, grabbed the key, and left the flat. I haven't been back. I called a mate to check on the place and take pictures. The wardrobe door was wide open. The inside was empty. Scratches were deeper. My mate asked if someone had been living inside it. I don't want to know. I'm moving out. Someone else can deal with that thing. I just hope whoever lived in there stays inside if the wardrobe ends up in a landfill or wherever it goes next. I wanted a mirror because my room looked dead without one. I'd been doing my makeup in the front camera of my phone, and honestly, it was embarrassing. So I went on Facebook Marketplace and found this huge vintage-looking mirror for $25. The frame was white with these carved patterns, and the glass looked spotless in the pictures. The seller messaged me super fast saying I could pick it up the same day. I thought I was being smart getting something nice for cheap. I didn't want to buy some flimsy thing from IKEA. He lived like 15 minutes from me. a really old area with houses that looked like they were built before electricity. When I got there, he was already standing outside on his driveway with the mirror leaning against the wall behind him. He was smiling in this really awkward way, like he practiced it in the bathroom but didn't know when to stop. He introduced himself and said he was happy someone wanted the mirror because it didn't suit his place anymore. The first weird thing I noticed was that he kept talking without looking at me. His eyes never met mine. He stared at the mirror instead like I wasn't even there. I walked closer and checked the mirror out. It was perfect. No scratches. No chips. No weird marks. I thought maybe I just got lucky. He said I could look at the reflection properly inside because the outside light might make it look weird. I wasn't really thinking deeply, so I followed him inside like a fool. It was dark in his hallway, and he didn't turn the light on at first. He just stood there, so I reached behind him and flipped the switch without asking. The mirror was moved into his living room, leaning against a wall. His whole house looked messy, like he wasn't expecting visitors ever. I stood in front of the mirror while he stood a bit to the side. I checked myself out first. It was fine. My reflection was normal. Then I noticed his reflection. He wasn't doing the same thing as the real him. In real life, he was still, just breathing, eyes on the mirror like before. But in the reflection, he was smiling at me, right into my eyes. His smile in the glass was wide, stretching his cheeks too much. It didn't match the calm face he had in real life. I stepped back and looked at both him and his reflection properly, switching my eyes between them. His reflection tilted its head to the left, but the real him didn't move. He didn't even blink. The reflection looked amused, like it knew I'd noticed. I tried to act normal even though my chest was freezing from panic. I told him the mirror looked great and asked if I could take it now. He nodded really slowly, still staring at the mirror, not at me. I couldn't stop looking at his reflection, though. It was still staring with that insane smile. Then it waved. But the real man didn't. I dropped my bag on the floor without meaning to. He asked what was wrong, finally looking at me for the first time, but his expression wasn't confused like normal people ask. He looked annoyed, almost angry that I saw something I wasn't supposed to. I told him I changed my mind and that I didn't want the mirror anymore. I grabbed my bag and headed straight for the front door. As I reached the hallway, I saw movement from the corner of my eye. The mirror was still behind me in the living room, but the reflection was pressed right against the glass, like it was trying to climb out. Its hands looked too close to the surface. I didn't check twice. I just left. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't say goodbye. He just stood there, silently watching me leave. When I got into my car, I locked the doors instantly and started driving, but I couldn't stop thinking about that reflection. The way it stared like it wanted me, like it followed me with its eyes. Later that night, he messaged me on Marketplace saying I forgot to pay for the mirror, but I didn't take anything. He sent another message saying the mirror misses me. I blocked him so fast, I almost dropped my phone. I thought that was the end of it. The next night, I woke up around 3 a.m. because I heard a scraping sound on the wall outside my house. My bedroom faces the street, and I peeked out through the blinds. His car was parked under the streetlight. He got out, walked around to the boot, and pulled out the mirror. He didn't knock or ring the bell. He just leaned the mirror against my front door like a gift and walked back to his car. But before he left, he looked up right at my window. His reflection in the mirror behind him looked up too. Both of them were smiling. The real him then turned back to the car, got in, and drove away. But the reflection didn't move. It stayed staring up at my room even as the car left. That didn't make sense. It should move with him. But it stayed there, alone, watching. I didn't leave my room. I just slid under my blanket and tried not to cry. I waited until the sun came up. When it did, I looked again. The mirror was still there, but the reflection wasn't. It was just a normal mirror again. I thought maybe my brain was fried from no sleep. I waited until midday before I finally opened my door. When I stepped onto the porch, the mirror looked wrong. Somebody had pressed their fingers hard into the glass trying to leave marks from the inside. Smears shaped like hands sliding down, like someone trapped behind it tried to push out. I didn't even touch it. I called my friend to come over and help me. We dragged the mirror to the park down the road and left it next to a rubbish bin. I don't care who takes it now. They can have it for free. I checked Marketplace later that night. The listing was still there. Same pictures, but now the seller's profile picture was changed. It was me. A picture from my own profile. I have no clue how he got that. The description now said the mirror belonged to me, and the price changed to $0. It said free collection. It also updated the location. It listed my address. I honestly thought selling my old bike would be the easiest thing ever. I stuck it on Facebook Marketplace for $80 because I just wanted it gone. I wasn't using it anymore, and the saddest part was that it had just been sitting in my shed collecting dust and rust. The tires weren't even pumped. The chain squeaked. It wasn't some fancy mountain bike or anything. Just a normal bike I got when I moved out for uni. Within like 10 minutes of posting it, I got a message from some guy called Ethan. He kept asking if the bike was still available, how old it was, if it had any issues. Could he take it for a test ride? I said, yeah, sure, because that's normal, right? People want to see if what they're buying works. He seemed excited. Too excited. But I didn't think about it then. He showed up that evening. I remember he walked down my street like he wasn't even breathing heavy or anything, even though we're kind of up a long hill. He was tall, skinny, tracksuit bottoms with stains on them, and a jacket that looked too big for him. His hair was really messy, like rolled out of bed messy. He smiled way too wide when he saw the bike, and I'm not judging people for smiling, but the way he stared at it was weird, like he'd missed it or something. I told him he could try it. He rode it up the hill and back down a couple of times, pedaling really slow when he passed me, like he wanted to stretch out the moment. He kept whispering stuff to the bike, like a dude talking to his pet. He finally handed me the cash and said thank you about 10 times. I thought, cool, that's over. He walked it away because he said he didn't want to scratch it by riding it home at night. Everything seemed normal until around 2 a.m. that same night. I heard a soft knock on my door. Not banging. More like tapping. Too gentle for someone with a real reason to be there. At first, I thought it was my mate messing around, but the knocking kept going. I looked through my curtains and saw him. The guy from earlier. Ethan. He was stood right under my porch light, staring forward. Not up at my window, not around, just forward like he was staring at the door itself. I didn't open it. I just watched. Then really quietly, he said he wanted to test the bike again. He said he thought he forgot to check the brakes properly. I froze because that was insane. Nobody comes back at 2 a.m. asking to test ride something they already bought. I didn't answer. He kept knocking for like a whole minute. Then he finally left. He didn't walk down the street like a normal person. He turned sideways and sort of edged along the wall before stepping off my porch. Then he disappeared into the dark. The next day, I checked my shed, just in case. Bike was gone, obviously, but nothing else was messed with. The day after that, he came again. Same knocking, same time. Asking to test the bike. I didn't look out the window that time. I stayed in bed holding my phone. He eventually left. By the third night, I was done. I messaged him on Marketplace telling him to stop coming to my house. He replied instantly, but his message didn't make sense. He said he wasn't coming here. He said the bike had been stolen from him already. He actually asked if I took it back because he noticed it was missing. He sent me a picture. His garage was open. The bike was gone. That creeped me out way worse if he wasn't the one coming here, who was knocking. Around 1:50 a.m. that night, I heard something again. Not knocking this time. Wheels rolling. Gravel shifting. I looked outside and saw the bike leaning on my garden gate. It was just there. Standing up on its own like someone had walked it there and walked away. I'm not joking. I started sweating because that meant someone else had taken it. Someone who knew where I live. Someone who wanted it back here. Then the knocking started, softer this time. Like whoever was outside didn't want to ruin the quiet. I stayed completely still, crouched behind my bed like that would help. Then I heard the voice. Asking to test ride it again. Same voice I thought I heard those 2 nights before. But the guy I sold it to wasn't there. I looked out the window very slowly and saw nobody. The knocking came again, but I still couldn't see who was making it. I shut the curtains and sat on the floor thinking, what the hell do I even do? If I called the police, what would I say? Some ghost wants to ride my bike. I know how dumb that sounds, so I just stayed awake until the sun came up. As soon as there was light, I grabbed the bike and locked it in my shed again. I felt a bit safer seeing daylight, and I told myself maybe it was just Ethan being weird and lying to freak me out. Later that morning, Ethan showed up again. For real this time. In daylight. He looked terrified, like he hadn't slept. He asked if the bike was back here because he read my message and didn't know what else to do. He wasn't lying this time. He actually looked scared, I opened the shed and showed him the bike. He stared at it like it wasn't even a bike anymore, like it was something dangerous. I told him he could take it. Just take it and go. He shook his head and said he didn't want it anymore. He walked away. Fast. He didn't look back. He left the bike with me like he'd never seen it before. That night, I got ready. I sat in the dark waiting to hear the knocking. 2 a.m. came. Nothing at first. Then I heard rolling. Wheels on gravel again. Slow. I saw the bike moving on its own, like someone was pushing it but trying not to be caught. It leaned itself on the gate again. Then the knocking came. Same voice, same words, asking to test ride it again. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just listened until the knocking stopped and the wheels rolled away again. It's still happening. Every night. Same time. Same knocking. Someone keeps bringing the bike back like it belongs here. I keep locking it away, and it keeps returning to the gate by the morning. The police don't do anything because nothing technically happened. They said it's probably a prank. I don't think it is. I can't explain how the bike moves or how someone knows exactly where to knock. I'm thinking of leaving. I don't care about the shed or the bike or anything else anymore. I just want this to stop. I should have known something was off when I found a full-size gray corner sofa on Facebook Marketplace for $40. The pictures looked clean, like barely used, and the seller said they were moving out that same night and needed it gone. I just moved into my own flat a few weeks before, and my place looked empty. I thought I was being smart grabbing a bargain. I didn't think about why a sofa like that would be so cheap. The guy selling it told me to bring a friend or hire a van, but I didn't have either, so I got a delivery guy to help. When we got to the house, the whole street looked like everyone already left. All the windows were dark except one on the upstairs floor. The front door was wide open. The seller wasn't even there when we carried the sofa out. The delivery guy made a joke about haunted furniture, but I just laughed it off, and we left. When it finally got into my living room, I was kind of proud. It filled the place and made it look livable. I sat on it that first night and watched something on Netflix until I passed out. Everything felt normal. No weird vibes. No creepy stains. I didn't think about checking it or anything. I just crashed. The next morning when I woke up, I noticed the sofa cushions weren't sitting right. Like one of them was a bit lopsided. I pulled it up to straighten it, and something made a tap sound from inside the sofa. I thought it was just springs or whatever, but it kept happening every time I moved the cushion. Metal on metal. Tapping. I got curious and shoved my hand under the cushion. Nothing. I pushed deeper, and my fingers hit tape. I pulled and felt something cold and rectangular. I yanked it hard, and out came a foam wrapped with thick duct tape, like someone wanted it stuck there permanently. The screen was on. That freaked me out immediately because nobody touched it. The phone was showing a video. Live footage. For a second, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then it clicked. It was my living room. Same shelves. Same TV stand. Same sofa. Same angle I was standing in right then. It wasn't a recording. I could see the back of my legs on the screen. I nearly dropped the phone. I turned around like someone had to be behind me filming, but there wasn't any camera. I checked the walls in every corner. Nothing. Just that phone. And it kept streaming. I thought maybe someone hacked a camera app on my phone or something stupid like that. I checked my real phone and no camera was on. I didn't even have my phone pointed at the same angle. The only thing in that exact position was the sofa. I stared at the seams where the cushions met the backrest, and suddenly all those tiny black dots didn't look like stitching anymore. I pulled at one in the corner of a tiny hidden camera lifted. There were so many, lined all across where nobody would even notice. My throat felt tight real quick. Someone had been watching whoever sat on this sofa. I grabbed the phone again. The footage wasn't shaky. It was clear, high quality, and the view wasn't from the sofa anymore. It switched. It was now showing my hallway. The angle was higher, like from a shelf or the top of the doorframe. I froze. I thought I had only been worrying about the sofa, but now there were more cameras. Somewhere I couldn't see. The timestamp on the screen said live. Someone was watching. I freaked out and ran to my bedroom. I slammed the door and put a chair against it because that's what people always do in movies, even though it looked dumb. I checked my closet and under the bed like a child scared after a horror movie. Nothing there. Then the phone buzzed. A message popped up across the screen. Next flat. I dropped it for real that time. My first thought was calling the police, but then I thought, who even owned this phone? It wasn't mine. It felt like the wrong move to touch it again. The message faded, and the footage switched again. Now it showed my kitchen. The lights were off out there, but the screen made the room look like someone had night vision. It was like whoever was controlling this could cycle through cameras anywhere in my place. Another message appeared. You sleep funny. My heart was pounding so hard I couldn't breathe properly. They weren't just watching recently. They'd been watching since the first night, when I fell asleep on the sofa. My mind went crazy thinking, did he see me change? Did he watch me go to the bathroom? Has he been tracking me since before I bought this thing? I knew what I had to do. I grabbed my old phone, shoved it in my pocket, and took the creepy one too just in case. Then I carefully opened my door. I kept the phone aimed like I could catch someone hiding. Every light in the flat was still off except my room. I walked slower than I've ever walked. The screen changed views again. The hallway, then the front door, then the kitchen, then back to the sofa. Almost like whoever was watching could see where I was going and was skipping around to scare me more. I looked through the door. The hallway outside my flat looked empty, and then suddenly the message popped up. Don't go. I didn't listen. I flung the door open and ran, barefoot, down 2 flights of stairs. I could still see the phone screen in my hand showing my front door. Someone was walking up to it. A shadow, slow, like they weren't scared I'd left. I didn't stay to watch more. I sprinted out onto the street and kept running until I reached a shop that was still open. I begged them to call the police. By the time officers got to my flat, whoever was there had left, but the sofa stayed. So did the cameras inside it. They counted 12 just in the cushions and 3 more in the kitchen and hall walls, all tiny, all connected to some kind of system that wasn't even fully found. They took everything, the sofa, the phone. It told me not to return to that flat until they were completely sure nobody else was inside. I stayed at my mom's for a while. It's been weeks now, and they still haven't told me who was behind it or what they found in the phone storage. They just keep saying the investigation is ongoing. I still think about the price, $40, like someone wanted me to take that sofa. It wasn't a bargain. It was bait.